And also this one, are you doing also computer? In this. Yeah. Okay. You can also. Thank you. We can start. Yes. Yes.
Also, would you be able to admit people, or do you want me to admit them now?
Because you are host, you will your computer please admit the.
Okay, sure, no problem.
Saramaka. Shall we start?
Yes, sure.
Start the model talk.
तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.
All other campuses can enable their videos so that we can see each other. Om Sri Sai Ram. I offer my humble pranams at the divine lotus feet of our master, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, who is there with us today in the most beautiful and enchanting form of Sadguru Madhusudan Sai. My greetings to all the directors of the campus and also the academic coordinators, faculty members, students, and my co-staff. It is said in Taittiriya Upanishad, Annam Bahu Kurvita. Individuals and institutions exist in the world only to enhance the quality of it. That is the main purpose or main objective of individual or in an institution to exist in the world. So, Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani, Sri Sathya Sai Lokaseva Gurukulam, Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence are such institutions which uplift the masses, give shelter to the masses. I remember once Swami saying that these institutions he has lifted like he has lifted Govardhana Hill in Dwapara Yuga, wherein by lifting Govardhana Hill, he put an end to the misery of all the people and gave the shelter to the masses, and these institutions in this Kali Yuga are exactly like that. Today, in our model talk, in the words of wisdom talk, Sister Soumya from Sathya Sai Sanjeevani. Sister Soumya is the head organizational development, Sri Sathya Sai Health and Education Trust. She did her MSc in International Health Policy, London School of Economics, MBA from Management Development Institute, Gurgaon, India, Bachelor of Engineering from BITS, Pilani, India. She has over 13 years experience in public health program. Her areas of specializations are public health and policy healthcare, delivery, emergency management, health screening programs, institutional strategy, system strengthening, monitoring and evaluation, public-private partnerships. She has previously worked in Nestle, Deloitte, World Bank, and Emergency Management Research Institute. Over 6 years of association with Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani Hospital in Naya Raipur and Haryana. Her key projects were she was responsible for operational growth of Raipur and Palwar centers during the hospital setup phase, monitoring and evaluation and process improvements across centers to drive continued improvement. Ideated and took forward the first rural child health screening program, Divine Mother and Child program, set up Sri Sathya Sai Sanjeevani of Nursing and Allied Healthcare Sciences in 2017, which provides quality postgraduate cardiac nursing education to the students of Chhattisgarh. Driving Sanjeevani's global work, medical missions with the governments of Fiji and Nigeria, strategizing and executing key institutional collaborations with Government of India, various state governments, Tata Trust, Rotary International, and etc. I request Sister to us. Thank you, sir.
Hi Ram, I'm offering my humble pranams to the lotus feet of Swami Sadhguru Madhusudan Sai, and my pranams to all the seniors present in this forum today from the Sri Sathya Sai University for Human Excellence, and my wishes and love to all my sisters and brothers joining in from various campuses. It is truly my honor that I'm here, an opportunity that Swami has given to be actually interacting with all the young minds. And if all of you have heard Srinivasa talk in Mudanhali, one of his measures of the growth of Sanjeevani is the average age of Sanjeevani. So he's really keen on more youngsters taking up this mission. And so I do have a presentation which I'd like to take you through, because I was wondering what I should be talking about. And there were three things that came to my mind. One is, since there are a lot of new students in this forum, I thought, let us understand holistically what Sanjeevani is and what is the work that we do, what are we trying to address. The second one I thought is, I have truly been blessed by this opportunity of working with Mrs. E. Srinivas for over 7 years. And like Swami, a lot of times in Sanjeevani has said that, he and me are one. And small things that he does, sets an example for all of us to follow in terms of leadership and management. So I'd like to share with you small incidents of how Sanjeevani processes, how we function, primarily with the guidance of our chairman, and how it actually correlates to something we've been reading of late, which is the God Management book of Sadhguru Sri Madhusudan Sai. How, the practical part of some of the aspects that he's covered in the book. And finally, I think what Swami is focusing on, why we are doing all of this. So let me share the presentation, and if you could confirm that you're able to see it. Are you able to see it?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. So that's really what I want to talk about. It's the what, it's the how, and it's the why. I think when we talk about Sanjeevani, right, the first thing is obviously the child. That's where the whole story began. Our chairman uses this very frequently, that the child that we address, its name is today. And why he says that is because, really the child is the future of the nation, of the society. So you cannot go and tell a child that, I'm going to postpone your treatment for next year. You don't know if the child is going to survive. You cannot tell a mother in pain that, we are there, but we cannot serve your child today. So the idea, this sentence sort of sets the vision and urgency of Sai Sanjeevani and the impact of work that it does. I'd like to start off with really where it began. This is a story that a lot of times Swami has shared, a lot of times Sir has shared, but I think it's sort of important for us to see where the whole healthcare mission really began, right? Raipur was the place that Swami chose. Raipur is in Chhattisgarh. For a lot of people, at that point, people were not even aware that Raipur was the capital of Chhattisgarh. It was a new state, it was still developing. And there Swami said, you need to start a hospital. The first instruction was, okay, where do we start this hospital? What is the land? And the first guidance that Swami gave was, wherever this land is, it's going to be near a water body and it's going to be guarded by Shiva. There's going to be a Shiva temple next to the hospital land. So they actually searched, and among the options that the government gave in, they found a land that is close to the Shiva temple and that has a water body close by. The interesting fact was, later when we went to that temple, the priest over there was about 70 years old. And he actually told us that a few years before this work happened, he actually saw Swami in subtle form in the hospital, in the temple. And Swami told him, you continue doing what you're doing. I've come here to see land for my hospital. And that's really, the divine vision, where it started way before all of us were even in the picture. And then it really was the faith and determination of one leader. Swami instructed Srinivasa that there needs to be a hospital in Raipur. It was an unknown territory, an unknown land. he was alone really at that point, but only guarded by the faith that he had on Swami. And there was, in one of the Tattva Samikshas, Brother Madhusudan had shared that once Swami asked him to ask Srinivasa, do you need any other help from me? And Srinivasa's reply was, he gave me vision, he gave vision to a blind man. What else can I ask for? And that really talks about how he took up that one instruction from Swami and worked on it with undeterred faith. Obviously, there were new challenges. You had to identify vendors. The land was not flat, and there was so much of work that was going on. It was very similar to the Gulbarga story that all of you are integrally a part of. Recently in Raipur, Swami shared this story that when they identified the land finally and they came there, they actually witnessed a beautiful rainbow on top of the land, covering the land, like it was the divine blessing that moment. Once the hospital came up, the next question was, what do we do? What's the direction of the hospital, right? So it was very clear that we had to do free surgeries. It started as an adult cardiac surgical unit for some time with a lot of challenges. Teams of surgical teams would fly in from various cities and come to Raipur and conduct surgeries and go back, and we didn't have staff, and all of those challenges existed. But it was then that Professor M.S. Valiyathan, who pioneered the Sri Chitra Valve and headed the Sri Chitra Tirunal Institute in Trivandrum, he came and said, hey, if you're going to do something free, you should do it for the child, because it's the child that is the future, right? And it's the child that is going to build the nation, build the world. So you should do it for the child. That's the investment that you should make in the life of a child. And it was then that it was much later in 2014, about a year and a half after the hospital began, that the direction was finally set to do pediatric cardiac care. Before we move on, I think it's sort of again to do a recap of what is it that we are addressing. So Sanjeevani addresses what we call the congenital heart defects. Congenital heart defects are heart defects at the time of birth. Just to understand the burden of the problem, in India every year, about 2.5 lakh children are born with this condition. And the graph here, you will notice that it's a study by All India Institute of Medical Sciences, which talks about the various regions in India. The south is fairly covered. The percentage of children who get addressed with congenital heart disease is much better because there are a lot of centers in Bangalore, Chennai, Trivandrum, Hyderabad. So they're fairly covered. You should look at the gap in the north, look at the gap in the west. Central is the least addressed, and then the northeast. This would sort of help us understand, Swami, why he probably chose the central region. Now, if you see, we have obviously 3 hospitals, one in Chhattisgarh, one in Navi Mumbai, and one in Palwal. So he's addressing Chhattisgarh, that's the central part, then went to the northern part where there's a huge gap, and then moved to the west. And it's sort of important to understand Swami as this strategist, right? And that's what we are all here for, to understand the leadership and management aspects. And this sort of comparison gives us a very good view of that. So Sanjeevani primarily is here to address the right to healthy childhood. We've all been part of rural primary health centers. We have witnessed Anganwadi centers. We have witnessed private hospitals where health is primarily seen as a privilege, also directly linked to affordability. But it was Swami and all his institutions, even before Sanjeevani, where health is being seen as a right, as much as education is, and all of you are part of that. These are the 3 hospitals for the students who've not been to some of them. A lot of you have been to our hospitals. The first one, as you can see, is in Chhattisgarh. The second one is in Palwal, and the third one is Maharashtra. And all of them are very beautifully heart-shaped hospitals. to give you an idea of what Sanjeevani has, the impact of Sanjeevani since we began in November 2012. Over 125,000 outpatients have been managed. Over 14,500 surgeries have been conducted, surgeries and interventions. We then moved into outreach of children, which is about 90,000 children screened and more than 20,000 pregnant women covered. This is broadly the ecosystem of Sanjeevani, where first we looked at care, which is the hospitals. We moved into mother and child health, which is the prevention and screening. Education in terms of pediatric cardiac surgeons, anesthetists, cardiologists, nurses who are very integral to the service that we provide. We then started doing a lot of training programs. Palwal then started India's first research center, a genomic research lab. And the last one is nutrition. Swami said the secret to solving any congenital defect lies in the womb of a mother. And that's where nutrition came in. We were honored to have our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, twice with us. The first time was in the Raipur Center in 2016, where he came to Saubhagyam. And the second one was where he virtually inaugurated the Palwal Center. And completely resonates with the fact that child health is an important aspect, and that reflects very integrally in the Ayushman Bharat program that the Prime Minister had launched. I'd like to take a few minutes quickly in terms of each of these sections that we're talking about. I think when we talk about congenital heart defects, we must understand what is this defect that we're talking about, right? A lot of questions usually we have in terms of how do we know that a child has congenital heart defect? How does the parent, diagnose that? When does he approach a doctor? And it's important for all of us to know that, because around us, we have so many families in our respective towns, villages, cities, where they need a lot of information. So I thought it's important for us to know the basics, right? Congenital heart defects are, in very colloquial terms called the hole in the heart. Technically, all of us have 4 valves. The child could be born with just 3 valves. The aorta, pulmonary vein could have been misplaced. There could be actual holes in the septums between the valves. But how does it manifest as a child, when the child is born? The child sometimes may not have any symptoms, but about 25% of congenital heart disease are very critical. So the child could typically be blue babies, as we call them. You will see that their nails, their lips, their toes are all blue. They could have feeding difficulties, breathing difficulties. They could be hospitalized due to pneumonia a number of times. So these are broadly the issues that children come to us with. At Sanjeevani, there is no age limit of what age the children that we accept. Anybody with congenital heart disease is fine. We've had 5% of our cases are people beyond the age of 25. These are because they present very simple lesions of congenital heart defects, and the symptoms have come out much later. And it's really the biggest cause of child mortality. So that's the global target that we're trying to address. Again, for your information, how we address congenital heart defects is 2-pronged. We either have, we conduct surgeries. So these are for the complex conditions. We do open heart surgeries. And the second one is for the simpler conditions, we do interventions, which is done in a cath lab. These are images of the operation theater, and this is the cath lab where we conduct surgeries and interventions. Again, for your information, at Sanjeevani, together across the 3 centers, we have 9 OTs, 3 cath labs, and a huge, strong team of over 500 dedicated to this mission. Soon after we started the surgeries, we realized that our first commitment is to the children around the areas that we are in. So we started the Divine Child Health Program, which aimed at screening children with congenital heart disease in Anganwadi centers and in government schools in the locations that we were in. And that program really expanded. Some of you may be aware of Brother Arvind Tyagarajan's organization called the HT Medical. This is an intelligent stethoscope, which basically identifies murmurs. And it's very helpful. For example, In Palwal, in a district called Nu, which is extremely backward, in a district hospital, we have trained the ANMs and the medical officers in the district hospital to screen every newborn of the district hospital using this step, so that we get the children earlier to address them. We have screened over 90,000 CSC programs, and a large part of this also happens in Karnataka. In maternal health, the reason why this program expanded to maternal health, as I said, was Swami, during his visit to the research center in Palwal, had said the secret to the prevention of any congenital defects lies in the womb of a mother. And the first step that we had to do was to strengthen antenatal care programs to take care of pregnant women. And that has moved into a huge program, primarily began in Karnataka and then moved on to all the centers, where the idea is not really to build a parallel structure, but to holistically strengthen the government infrastructure, right? So whether it is supporting them with consumables, volunteers, a huge force of doctors, for example, from gynecologists, from the Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences in Karnataka, they have doctors coming in, they're volunteers, data management, there are antenatal care clinics, sonography clinics. So really providing holistic care to the mother. That's now the Divine Mother and Child program. And as Swami says that eventually every district of India is going to have an outreach center focusing, running the Divine Mother and Child Health program with a clear integration of a teleconference facility. So they have access to care and consultations. Quickly on the SciSure, this is really, like Swami said, I know the answer to what you're trying to find out. The answer is nutrition of pregnant women, and later the child health, it's the nutrition of the children. So SciSure started off as a project for toddlers, pregnant women, school-going children, and it is not a surprise that we increasingly see district officials requesting us to start an entire maternal health program primarily because of SciSure. And a perfect example of that is the Bastard district in Chhattisgarh, which is a Naxal and a very Naxal infested and a very backward district of Chhattisgarh. But they actually got to us saying nutrition is a big challenge for us. And we'd like to start the entire maternal health program, including nutrition for this district in association with you. Of late, Swami has been talking about the DNB program and the training programs. And I think it's important to understand that while we have a vision of addressing and doing more pediatric cardiac surgeries, interventions, it's really a long, very costly journey for a medical professional. Just to take an example, for a surgeon to become a pediatric cardiac surgeon, he does general surgery, he does cardiac surgery, and then does a specialization in pediatric cardiac surgery. And there's actually no formal course in pediatric cardiac surgery. There's a huge gap of professionals, nurses, and technicians in this field. Broadly, in India, it is estimated that you need to have about 300 to 500 cardiac programs. When I say cardiac programs, it could be a multi-specialty hospital doing cardiac surgery, but we only have 50. So if we need to address the national burden and we need to advocate for that, we also need to primarily champion training of professionals. And Sanjeevani has had various institutional fellowships. We've had trainees from Afghanistan, Nigeria, Fiji. We have a master's nursing college in Raipur to build on the nursing strength. It's now recently that in Maharashtra, we have started a fellowship program. But I think the long-term vision is that we develop a national curriculum for pediatric cardiac sciences. And that's what we advocate and initiate the entire spectrum of programs for pediatric cardiac training. As I shared, the last aspect was the research, which in Palwal is India's first genomic research lab with a biobank, and very clearly the aim being, while we do the cure, while we do early screening, we need to find out the cause of any congenital defect and over years come out with an intervention that can truly avoid the incidence of a congenital defect. A quick round, we have collaborated with various governments. In Maharashtra, we have been identified by the government of Maharashtra as the Apex Institute for Referrals of Congenital Heart Disease. We have partnered with Government of India's Ayushman Bharat program and the Rashtriya Bal Swasthya Karyakram for various programs in terms of supporting state initiatives to address congenital heart defects. I'd like to quickly share a few pictures and stories that have really changed my life at Sanjeevani. I always share that my guru at Sanjeevani is really my interactions with the parents. This is a picture of a little girl called Dakshita, who got operated at Sanjeevani in 2015. She was in the ICU for 3 months. She was operated on 9 months and she was in the ICU. She went through it. She was a real fighter. And after 3 months, she actually got discharged on the day of her birthday. And this picture that you see of her now is 5 years later, and she's totally healthy. And her father has actually, it transformed him so much that he has come to Mudanhalli. He has this desire that the daughter should be studying there. He's witnessed Swami's magic there. He volunteers in Bombay, and it's true transformation. This is another beautiful story where this child, when she was born, she was found in the drain in Odisha, crying. Her parents had deserted her at birth. And a caretaker in Odisha picked her up, took her, got her treated in a district hospital where they told her that she had a congenital heart disease. She was taken into an adoption home, in a government adoption home in Odisha, and she would never get adopted because she had a congenital heart defect. At the age of 6, she was brought to Sanjeevani, and she went through a surgery here. And within 3 months of her surgery, she got adopted by an Italian family. And very beautifully, Srinivasa, during one of the visits in Italy, actually met this girl and the parents there. And she now speaks Italian over there. And that's a beautiful journey. And I remember the day she was traveling to Italy, she called me from her home in Odisha and she said, Didi, main ghar ja rahi hu. And that's really, the transformation that, the numbers 15,000 can sound very big, but to each single child and family, it's a beautiful journey of transformation. And for us, it's really a learning. It's a learning of what selfless love can do. This is Abhishek Jangir, which most of you may have seen, may have heard in Mudanhalli. He came to Sanjeevani, he's from Rajasthan. He had a lot of challenges in terms of health, congenital heart disease being one of them. He got operated. He actually ran a marathon with us. And soon he's actually currently studying in Mudanhalli under the love of Swami. And I remember during his first visit to Mudanhalli, when he joined, Swami told him, Sanjeevani is like Devaki Maya. It gave you life. And the educational institutions are like Yashoda Maya. They are going to nurture you. And that's such a beautiful relationship between the healthcare mission and the education mission. Another example of Amit Kumar, he got operated in 2015, very determined to give back to Sanjeevani. He got operated in Raipur, but he was from Palwar. And obviously, we ended up opening a hospital less than 3 kilometers from his home. So he then did nursing, and he's currently a nurse with us in Palwar. This story really tells us sort of why Swami chose the next location, probably. This child, Saif, he was actually, he came to our outpatient early last year, and he was given a date of surgery around the time that COVID happened, around May. And while the hospital had started functioning, the transportation was not really started yet across states. So this family, he actually joined us. They traveled 1,400 kilometers from Varanasi to Raipur just to access care at Sanjeevani. And there was rain. They took 3 days. And they were only praying and hoping that throughout this journey, that the child is fine, that he doesn't develop any other infection. And where there is will, you take one step and Swami takes 100 steps. Nothing happened to the child. He was admitted and he was discharged very healthy back to his home. I think I'd like to, having spoken about Sanjeevani, I want to talk primarily about my experience about working with Srinivasa. For me, Srinivasa is the embodiment of Swami and a perfect embodiment, because whatever he says, whatever he thinks, whatever he wants to do, there is a divine will. And Swami at so many times has said that there is no difference between him and me. And I can only talk about what I have learned from him in these few years. And my deepest gratitude to Swami for giving me this opportunity of working with him so closely. The first thing I learned really from him is, when you start off in an organization, and that's been my journey, is you start off like it's an institution and you're part of it. You're doing something for the institution. Soon you realize that this institution becomes your mission, becomes your life. And when it becomes your life, I remember Srinivasa once told me that, I asked him, I said, how do you get funds for a project so large? What is the fundraising strategy? And his answer was so simple. He said, Soumya, you just have to live Sanjeevani every moment. You have to breathe Sanjeevani every moment. And when that happens, all the associations, every single person actually starts connecting to you. They never really connect to the work. It is the individual whom they connect to. And that, for me, I think now I understand that much better, with Swami saying, emphasizing that the first goal that all of us have is our own spiritual realization. And when that happens, work, I guess, happens on its own. And that's really what I witness day in and day out, particularly with the chairman. And again, another thing that he has taught me and that I learned very deeply is he really gets inspired by anything and everything. There have been moments where he has gone for dinner to the house of a receptionist in Palwal, just to understand with him if he has any challenges in the hospital and how best we as a system could address that. He would do that, come back, and then call everybody for a meeting and say, hey, this is the feedback and we need to work on it. That is, very recently, Swami was saying that there really are no designations, no roles, but it's all of us being servants of the work that we're doing. And that's where I guess when Swami says in God management, be, do, see, tell, that's probably what Srinivasa exemplified. Small things. You would understand in a state like Palwal, which is quite regressive. One of our sisters over there had gone on a family holiday to Bombay. It is so small, in a situation like that, the in-laws usually do not give so much credit to the daughter-in-law and all those issues. At that moment, our chairman called her up and said, why are you staying in a hotel? And he made arrangements for her to stay in the trust guest house, made it extremely comfortable for them for 3-4 days. And when they came back, there was serious social transformation in their family. She now lives with her head held high. She has a voice. So a small gesture of being sensitive to small things has changed so much for this girl that now she lives Sanjeevani every moment, when she's in Palwal. And the last thing I'd like to focus on this slide is really, again, a question I had for Srinivasa saying, how do you live every day so stress-free? Very well understanding that there is this mammoth project going on and a vision that we are still not aware of. Swami says the glorious years are yet to come. The scale is something probably obviously none of us have an idea of. So I said, how do you go through each day with a smile on your face and with peace in your heart without getting stressed out? And his response was, Soumya, it's a very interesting play between faith and dare. And I think that is applicable, at least for me, every moment, that while there is something coming up in front of you, it's the faith that brings in that dare. Of course, initially it was faith in Swami. Later, it just becomes faith in yourself, right? Where you at least pretend to know that Swami is working through you. And so that faith and dare, with of course a pinch of cheerfulness and joy, I guess makes it very beautiful. God Management, the book, has been life-changing for me. And I thought of sharing very, very small examples of what I understood from God Management and the Sanjeevani perspective of it. Swami speaks of men. And the small example I'd like to take over here is the first pediatric cardiac team. It was very important right at the beginning, even if it takes time, to ensure that the team that comes sets the skill, ethos, and values for Sanjeevani. So the first team, when they were referred by Professor Valiathan to us, it actually took almost about 15 months since the hospital started for this team to come. And I know that Srinivasa was being very, very careful that whichever team comes reflects and resonates the same skill and ethos that Sanjeevani stands for. And we were blessed, divinely blessed, that the team that came in stood for that and continues to stay with us 8 years down the lane with the same mission in their heart, to save lives and to share a lot of love. Some of you may have heard Dr. Krishna Manohar, Dr. Subramanian, Dr. Yogesh. This was the first team that came in along with a lot of admin and nursing staff, and they're all with us. The next one I'd like to talk in terms of men is something Swami tells us, re-emphasizes to us every time he visits our hospital. And that is that no matter who the person in the organization is, whether it is a surgeon, any doctor, a nurse, a receptionist, a laundry technician, a lab technician, or the security guard, every single person, if somebody asks them, what do you do at Sanjeevani? His only reply should be, I save a child. And that means that sets the context for all of us to work towards building that culture, that every single person owns this mission and can truly from his heart say, I save a child. Very operationally, some of you have been volunteers at PCSI, and it was magical to have students from the institutions. And that was again a perfect example of teamwork, where we had our own Sanjeevani centers across various locations. We had volunteers, we had the medical fraternity, we had a lot of vendors who we were working with. How do you together work hands? I think the important thing is to set the goal for everybody, plan properly, organize things and work on timelines. And while we may not have been at 100%, but the idea is, as long as everybody is oriented, we've always experienced the last minute Swami magic coming in. The last part, of course, which is really not the last, is giving is receiving. At Sanjeevani, we see magic when we see parents over here. We call them the Sanjeevani Sahayaks. These are parents whose children are in the ICU, and they still want to volunteer at Sanjeevani to do something. We've had cases where the child is in ICU, very critical, not coming out, and yet the parent says, I want to cut vegetables. I want to clean the hospital. And that is because of the love and faith they have on the doctor. There was once a mother whose child was actually not conscious after surgery for almost 4 days. She was fine and I was restless. So I went up to her and said, Didi, aren't you tensed? Aapko pareshani nahi ho rahi hai kya? So she said, Mera bachche ka naam Vishwas hai. Her child's name was Vishwas, which is trust. And she said, the fact that he survived for 5 years means he is meant to live. The divine has ordained him to live. So I have faith on the divine. I have faith on the divine in the form of the doctors taking care of the child. So why should I worry about it? And she actually was providing her voluntary services. And that was such an inspiration for me and a learning for me of just a lesson of faith. The next is the methods. I think all the entire mission of Swami, whether it's education, every project, we see that he has a vision, but he starts small. Because probably we are all not ready for that vision yet, but it's beautiful how he molds and transforms and teaches each one of us in the mission slowly to resonate to that vision and grow. It's almost like we are not even aware that we are growing, but at a time when that vision suddenly comes in front of us, we realize that over the years, he's actually prepared us. Another challenge that Srinivasa keeps talking about, and which says that the most complex system is the human body. And the human body takes 9 months to be ready. So why should anything be more complex than that and take more time than that? So all of Sanjeevani's hospitals, from the time of Bhumi Puja, from the beginning of work to the time of the first outpatient service, it's been less than 9 months. And sometimes the hospital has not been ready and people are tensed, and Swami says, no, the time has come, the birth has to happen, child has to be born. It will grow slowly. But what does this mean in terms of management? It means aligning teams, aligning vendors, aligning finances, aligning processes, aligning everything to fit this framework. And that is something we have learned, and I'm sure all of us at various projects that we are in different phases, we always have timelines. And I remember something that Swami told in Badri, that, you know, when you give the best and you're in sync with my will, sometimes even when the timeline is not met, usually Swami doesn't say anything because you are in that will and you're working as per divine. And finally, I think it's technology. Just what we are doing right now would have been very difficult if we had not used technology. We've all adopted. At Sanjeevani, we have adopted into various teleconferencing programs from rural Jharkhand, Kolkata. We consult patients and primary healthcare centers there. We conduct a lot of training programs for hospitals and doctors in Raipur, in rural Chhattisgarh. We're going to start off a patient interaction app. Like Srinivasa says, the journey of a patient doesn't stop at surgery, right? It starts at surgery. It's a life of transformation. So how can we be constantly in touch with the patients? Finally, I think the money part, it's really about our adaptation. Our experience has been initially, while there were some donors who came in with a lot of faith, it grew into a lot of forums. There are now corporate social responsibility forums. There are government programs. There are public-private partnership programs. But again, what is our takeaway from this? Our takeaway is, are we ready to handle donor relationships? Have we strengthened ourselves in terms of donor management, donor retail, donor communication, all of that? So it's up to us to prepare ourselves for that. And then, of course, a lot of times initially we were asked, is this model even sustainable? Now that it's been almost 10 years, I think the answer is really up to the world to give. But the beautiful answer that we at Sanjeevani talk about is it's really the economics of love. We recently had a CSR partner where we could sense that he was almost in an urgency to support us. He did everything so quick. After the whole thing got over, when I called up to thank him and express our gratitude, he said, you know, I understand from my heart what Sanjeevani does, because I did not want to tell you that my child currently is suffering with a congenital heart defect. And I was waiting for these formalities to get over so that I could actually come to the hospital and show my child. And that's how, you know, it's the connect of the heart. It's very beautiful. Swami spoke about crisis management, which of course COVID threw up the biggest crisis for healthcare providers. We were grappling with changing instructions from ICMR, and we didn't know how to start, and we were shut down for a month and a half. But during these few months, we took time to sort of do video calls with patients, interact, strengthen whatever we did not have the time to do before that. But we emerged much stronger, giving clear guidelines on how to handle patients, whether there was our entire staff who actually got together stitching PPE kits, because everybody knew they had one vision, that we need to get back. And it's not about, taking a break, but to come back. And the entire time, it was inspiring to see we had staff actually preparing these masks from plastic paper because masks were not available. So there was just so much of innovation that was happening. And when we started, for me, it's just deepest gratitude to all the doctors, all the nurses who put themselves out there, and their priority was the child. Most of them turned negative. They were critical, some of them, and yet they bounced back to provide these services. And during the COVID time, Sanjeevani has done over 2,500 surgeries since June. This is at a time when other healthcare centers were slowing down, are not taking up elective surgeries. I'd like to come to a very interesting, but a very important aspect of leadership and management, and that is communication. Very early in Sanjeevani, and I know I'm running out of time. I'll probably take 2-3 more minutes and take questions after that. But in 2015, February, we had an interaction between Swami and the staff of Sanjeevani. This was the first interaction where the staff were being informed about the subtle form. Some of us knew, but we didn't know how they were going to take it. This interaction for me was a huge learning on communication. This is a staff of about 100 people who were North Indians, who may not know of Swami, totally new, some of them socially oriented, some of them spiritually oriented, different religions. And Swami was going to share to them about the subtle form. And what I took away was the beautiful way he started the conversation. For all of us, things like Purnahuti, Naivedyam, Prasadam, it's common, we've heard the term. But for these people, for the staff, they didn't really know these terms. So Swami started in a beautiful way. First, he started speaking in Hindi. So that communication, the issue was, what he's trying to address is ensure that the communication is done effectively. So what did he do? He selected the right language, the relevant language. Second, his first example was, I'll tell it in Hindi and then translate it. He said, "Aapne kabhi mata ko chunri chadhai hai kya?" So it's like offering a dupatta to mata. It's like offering a sari in Purnahuti. It's like that. But it's a phenomenon that's it's only relevant in the northern part of India. It's usually not relevant for us. So he said, "Mata ko chunri chadhai." So the words that he used, the example that he used, he said, "Aap chunri chadhate hain, aap bhog chadhate hain." He did not say Naivedyam or Prasadam. They would not understand Naivedyam or Prasadam. He said bhog. And then he said, "Aapko kaise pata? How do you know that this bhog has been accepted by the divine?" And then he said, every gross form has a subtle form. And it's that subtle form of the food that's been accepted by the subtle form of the God, of Devi. That level of understanding, given the audience, the what, the how, and the language was perfect. And although it's a very simple example, it's a learning for us about how it's important for us to tell the right things, to say the relevant things, and to ensure that the non-verbal communication is correct. And Swami is the perfect example of this. Even to today, whenever he comes to Sanjeevani, he only speaks in Hindi. Srinivasa speaks in Hindi. All our doctors, we have Dr. Rashmi over here in Bombay, who is a surgeon from Bangalore. And she had no idea of Hindi, but now she actually speaks only in Hindi. These are some of the examples of communication when Sanjeevani, where we started developing forums, patient forums. This was an interesting example where we had over 200 patient families to come to Sanjeevani and we were interacting with them. These are some staff interaction communication forums. The idea is, how do we enable more forums to enable easy communication? I think the last thing I'd like to talk about is change management, and really, more than speaking about it, what is written over there is respect the old, but embrace the new. There is always going to be new. There are new ways, new methods. There is growth. There is new vision. There is changing external environment in everything that we do, whether small, micro, or macro. But how do we respect the old, get ready for the new, and embrace the new? I have the final, I think that's the why that all of us are here for. And this is something, there was a lesson for me which Swami shared recently, and he's at Sanjeevani. He says to work for God is an opportunity, to work with God is an honor, but to work as God is the highest fulfillment. And I think after so many years, he continues to emphasize that it is not about how much you do, what seva you do, but the focus is on what the seva does to you. And it's up to us to do the learning. And personally, for me, it's been a journey of faith to service. And now really it's just joy. It's beautiful. And my prayers to Swami that he guides all of us into this journey, into ourselves actually, to achieve this highest fulfillment of Shivoham. Thank you so much, and I'd love to take questions from you.
Saramata, thanks. We had a great learnings from the ecosystem, social impact, heart-touching stories, leadership, and the communication forums which you were mentioning, and the Embrace to Change initiative. We had a lot of learnings from it, and it's a great feeling of joy for all of us, the students and staff of Sri Sathya University, to acknowledge the fact that we are also part of this mega humanitarian project to save the masses. We wish to internalize this inspiration from Sathya Sai Sanjeevani and walk in the glorious mission of us. And we can take questions now. I request the other campuses to post the questions in the chat box. We have from Gulbarga campus, we have the question.
Okay, so the first question is, what are the research areas which Sanjeevani are wishing to work, wherein we from Sathya Sai University can also join? I think this has happened, a basic association has happened in the past to explore areas of, I think there was some modeling in terms of prevalence and incidence of congenital heart disease. There was a partnership in terms of trying to work with Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. It was an initial effort to work on research, again, primarily in the congenital heart disease space. But what I'd like to say is I'd be happy to connect the research team at the university to Dr. Soma, who heads the research center there, Dr. Prachi, and Mr. Adha. And I think it will be really effective. And I think Swami, a number of times when he had come to the research center, he did say that he would like the university and research center to partner. So I may not be in a position to give you exact answers right now, but I'll be very happy to connect you.
Other campuses also can post their questions in the chat box. Other campuses can also unmute themselves. And if you have any questions, you can directly ask Soumya's sister.
Okay, there's a question here. What are the precautions to be taken after the surgery of a child? There are some basic precautions like the nursing of the wound where the surgery was done, which we basically, before the COVID time, of course, now it's more for personal counseling, but what we do is we have a daily parent counseling session at Sanjeevani. We have a dedicated counseling team, which primarily we conduct an everyday half-an-hour session where all the parents are brought together. And each day, one technician or expert speaks to the parents. So one is, like I said, the nursing of the wound. So usually a senior nurse comes and tells them how to clean the wound, whether to put soap or not. Sometimes what we see is they're so scared of the wound that they don't actually, clean it properly, and that turns up into an infection and they come back. So there are clear guidelines or SOPs on how to clean the wound. The second one is, of course, nutrition. Very important to ensure that the nutrition is a balanced diet once they go back. So again, the dietitian during these sessions and personally at the time of discharge draws up an entire diet chart depending on the weight of the child at the time of discharge, the condition, the age, and draws up a whole diet chart for a period of about 3 to 6 months, because typically the children come back for a review after 3-6 months and they get more inputs. So that's so care of the wound, diet, and the third one is particularly when, like I said, there is either open heart surgery or a intervention. So when an intervention happens, the child is actually for about 3 months, usually they suggest that the child should not undertake very active, a lot of physical activity like running or anything like that, because it takes time for the device to sort of normalize in your body. So these are the various guidelines, but mostly what happens is the child after surgery comes back for a definite 1 month review and a 3 month review. And after that, it depends on the criticality of the surgery. So usually every time they come back, these guidelines given to them are reviewed. I hope I've answered the question, but if there's anything else, I'm happy to take. There is a question on, could you elaborate more on the communication forums which you're mentioning? Yeah, sure. So I think the first thing that we do is, the first step, of course, starts with how the chairman communicates with each center. We are now 3 centers, and it's important that all centers are in alignment with each other and alignment with the broader vision. So once a month, when the chairman is in each center, he ensures that there is an all medical meet, there is an admin, nursing and medical meet, and he personally meets with every head of department to give them individual guidelines and also to sort of understand. It's like a feedback mechanism from them too. But that's at one level. At a medical level, for example, currently what we do is we have a monthly meet. We have a surgical meet, an anesthesia meet, a cardiology meet, public health meet. So this happens once a month where the experts of all centers join in there. That is to align medical practices, align academic vision, align their training programs. It's very beautiful because like when we started these sessions, initially there was, everybody is careful about what they present in public forum. Now these forums have become so beautiful that the surgeons actually share what went wrong. After all, congenital heart disease is a very critical surgery. There is a mortality, a small mortality percentage. So these forums very beautifully, they happen to be forums where academic discussions happen on even something like mortality, and these are headed by Dr. Sean, who guides us on the various medical practices. At a staff level, we have, at a larger level, we have very fun annual meets relevant to each center, where it's a moment of appreciation for us. And of course, the second time is whenever Swami comes to us, we take it as an opportunity of staff interaction, of staff being able to present what they feel. But more than that, I think the one thing that's common across Sanjeevnis is this whole open, in a corporate world, you call it the open door policy, right? Anybody is free to walk up to the chairman, walk up to the director, walk up to senior doctors and share with them what they feel and give their feedback. And it's of course up to us to value that feedback and take it up. In fact, one of the sources at one point, we almost made it mandatory for people at admin and management levels to ensure that every week they interact with parents and with security guards, because that's really where you get a lot of feedback and small things of how do we handle patients. They have a lot of innovative ideas. So at various levels, these are the forums that are currently in place. And I think what I've seen is the more these forums, which are formal, what happens is you take away, there are going to be operational issues. There are always in institutions. But what happens with these forums is you take away the person from the problem and you very objectively just address the problem. And it becomes a managerial problem which you discuss and you address. There is no, the whole idea of being associated with the person and the emotions attached to it, and all of that actually gets ironed out with these sort of forums. That's sort of, I think, on the communication. We have an interesting question. Can you tell us more on the change management initiative? Respect the old and embrace the new. I have a beautiful example for this. With more centers, with the demand for congenital heart disease being so large, each center now already has a large waiting list. Obviously, Raipur has the largest waiting list because the awareness about Raipur is much larger. Palwal has next, and Bombay is still coming up now. Now this is a new situation we are having, that we have capacities, we have operation theaters which can do more surgeries, but the waiting list is in some other center. But that's a challenge we did not face over the last 5 years, right? So what we are doing now, for example, and it's very current, is we are now working towards creating an integrated case pool. That means you're aligning all your IT systems. You are trying to align, data availability, whether it's X-ray, whether it's an echo. You're aligning all their reports. And so the moment the data system is sort of aligned, what we're doing now is it's a response to change, that this situation has changed. And now we want to do an integrated case pool where any center, any doctor, the surgeon can actually identify if they have capacity in their OT, which surgery to pick. So this could be an outpatient waiting child of Raipur, but the Mumbai team picks them up to do the surgery here. Or if there's some senior surgeon in Palwal, he could pick a senior case from Mumbai and take it up there. So what we're trying to address is basically patient wait list, patient experience, and more importantly, our own moral responsibility to ensure that every child who comes into Sanjeevni has actually, addressed and given some sort of a response. So that's one of the things we've done, for example, in Change. And I think some of these communication forums actually best enable change management. There's another question. How do the people get to know about the hospital? So I think initially when the hospital started, it was a large part of it was word of mouth. We realized that, one patient once operated, when he came back a second time, he would come with 3 or 4 more families with him. But increasingly now we see that there's social media, there's our website. A lot of rural doctors know about us, so there's a lot of doctor referrals going on. So it's really quite equally spread right now. There is patient referrals, doctor referrals, website, and social media. I think these are the questions that have come, and I've taken 5 minutes more, and I'm sorry about that. But from my side and from Sanjeevani's side, I'd like to thank all of you for being part of this. And I think, like we witnessed in PCSI, to have you in Sanjeevani and work over here is just beautiful. So in the days to come, we really hope to see lots more of you as part of the Sai Sanjeevani family. And that's my prayer to Swami, and thank you so much.
Thanks, Sakra. On behalf of all staff and students, we are thankful to you for such a wonderful session with a lot of learnings and takeaways. And also, we look forward for more such insightful sessions from Sanjeevani leadership in the future for our model terms. Thank you.
Sure.
We shall end this session with the Sahana Road.
Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Silent.